going. This is what gets excited about these lives, you know?
Start. So for those of you that are new to my channel, I hope this isn't the first video of mine that you're watching because this intro is quite exciting. But my name is Sitara. I am a practicing professional psychic medium, have been for about 13 years now, and I like to share all good news about quantum leaps, about growing a soul-centered business, how to manifest, how to heal your inner child, all sorts of good stuff. So thank you for finding your way here. I am celebrating a bit of a milestone today, and I'm excited to be sharing with you a lot of what that means to me and a lot of what that journey has been. So, yesterday I celebrated 4 years no booze. And I say no booze because I do appreciate psychedelics and I do appreciate microdosing. And I absolutely am an advocate for the responsible and ceremonial use of these medicines that help us to open in really powerful and really beautiful ways. For me, alcohol was something that entered my life when I was about 14 years old. And really was used by means of a lot of very unconscious self-medicating, and I feel comfortable talking about that because I don't think I excuse me, it's not that I don't think, I know I am not the only one. Um, there is so much encouragement and so much social acceptability in this world to be a mess, to be dissociated, to be numb, to not feel your feelings, to not be emotionally responsible. And I really believe that the drinking culture has a huge hand in creating that kind of that undercurrent in how our society lives and operates. Now, of course, I do know that there are some really beautiful, I don't know that I'd go as far as to say healing components of alcohol, because I think if you were to weigh things out, the cons are actually, they far outweigh the pros for drinking and imbibing and what drinking has done to um, I'll say by and large, I think it's made people's lives worse rather than making people's lives better. And so I have a lot to say about it. And alcohol itself, I have two videos that I have already done. One of them was 6 years ago, called Drunk Spirituality. You can find it here. And then the other one is Alcohol and Spiritual Growth. So it really just depends on what your prerogative is. If your intention is to grow and evolve, and I'll say that the biggest and main reason that I chose to really stop drinking and to get to 4 years and to not look back, that's not to say that I haven't had days where I've thought about it. I definitely have, but I've just continued to choose not to. I've just continued to choose to feel my feelings or go into whatever it is that's arising for me, because the only real reason I ever really feel called or something along those lines to drink or to feel triggered is because there's been some sort of an emotional trigger, some sort of an emotional thing that has come up where I just want to check out and I just want to go. Now, granted, this is actually the fourth time I've been sober. First time was for a month just to see if I could have fun without drinking. The second time was for 6 months. I ended up making it to 7. So I was like, okay, it reached my goal. Um, the third time was I made it to 510 days. And I'm just kind of sitting with how much I want to share on that one. Cuz that one was really big. And I'll also say that the reason that I stopped or that I started drinking again both times was because I got in partnership with a man that was drinking. And I didn't really think anything of it because a lot of people also told me, like, if I wanted to date somebody that wasn't a drinker, I'd basically be single forever because everybody drinks. And to the point of where I'm at now, Yeah, it's still challenging. Yeah, most people drink, most men drink. It's not necessarily an easy thing. And then you couple that with, being highly intuitive, a highly psychic being. Uh, Most people, just in general, I'm not even going to say most men that want to date, but most people in general aren't really willing to be seen at that level. You think you want that, but when it actually comes up, and the parts of you are being exposed through the reflection of one, somebody that really deeply cares for themselves, and also somebody that really deeply cares for you and wants you to be shining at your best. But if you're not really actually willing to do that for yourself first, then it just creates a lot of scratchy conflict, right? So when I got into these partnerships, I I would call it self-abandonment. I sat with it, and it was my decision fully and completely. By no means did anyone force me to, but was there subtle manipulation by means of that's what they wanted for themselves rather than for me to stay clear? Yeah, there was. And I was there for it. I was there for it. So, in the time that I decided to stop drinking again, one was because my partner's alcoholism was really, really just in an extreme. And so he had to stop drinking. And so I knew that if I wanted to be with him and wanted things to work, then it was necessary for me to stop drinking. And because I had stopped drinking, or I was sober when we met, then it just, it was kind of like a no-brainer for me. I was kind of relieved and kind of like, thank God. Well, then I was sober for over a year and a half, 510 days. I had a counter, so that's how I know. And then I started dating somebody in my hometown who was also a drinker. And so again, it was like that pattern was there, and I wasn't exactly sure. I wasn't exactly certain if I had chosen to stop drinking because it was by my own volition, by my choice, or if it was because uh, I was supporting my partner. So there was already a part of me, there was already wheels turning. But here's the thing is that I had already launched my Earth Angels program. I was already leading a $25,000 a year program, running it with 8 people minimum, running another program and a membership, a beginning level psychic development membership called the Intuitive Connection Academy. So I yeah, I had a lot to learn through all of that. And so when I started drinking thinking that I had healed my relationship with alcohol, thinking that I was able to, keep it more under control. And that was like the biggest lie that I told myself because the level of stress that I was under growing my business and expanding in the way that I was expanding, um, I I just I don't know that I buckled, but I definitely wobbled. I definitely wobbled, and there was a lot that I had to learn about myself again through that. And it was not conducive to what I was doing. It felt like it didn't feel like I was living in harmony. It didn't feel like I was living in by means of being honest in my integrity and my authenticity. It felt like there was something that I had to hide because I had so much shame around drinking and what drinking had brought into my life and why I had been drinking and all of that. And so it was not in alignment. It was something that definitely did not serve, definitely did not help, definitely turns my abilities down, which is why when in my younger years, it was why part of the reason I knew that I was drinking and numbing to begin with was because I didn't know how to differentiate between my emotions and other people's emotions. And so it was a way for me to turn my abilities down, although it was all subconscious. I did not necessarily know what I was doing. It was all unconscious as well as subconscious. I just knew that, drinking numbed. It turned the emotions down, it turned the sensations down, it turned my abilities down. It was a way for me to escape. That's really what it's always been for me. It's been a way to escape. And I really realized that one, I don't wanna be living a life I feel that I need to escape from at all, at all. And ultimately what it came down to, and I'm not gonna go into too much detail because, some personal in my family, and so I just don't wanna share that on a public forum. But what I will say is that the reason that I ultimately chose to stop drinking again, because I was really in the times that I was drinking, there was still like, I'd go long spurts without drinking again and just kind of trying to this is what I call it. I call it mental gymnastics. I was doing so much mental gymnastics in my mind to justify a drink that I had had or to make it seem like it was okay, even though there was already such a strong part of my own internal conviction that knew, 100% knew that drinking was not helping me at all, at all. And so I kept noticing it as this like vibrational cha-cha. So if I would go through the week and I'd be making my videos and I'd be leading my clients and I'd be doing this really beautiful work, and then on the weekend I'd have even like 3 or 4 drinks or whatever that was, it was like I would be able to have fun, but I could tell that from a vibrational standpoint and from where I was feeling, that my vibration would come down so low to be able to match the frequency of booze. And so it would depress my energy, it would depress my frequency. And then it would literally take me about 4 or 5 days to get back to where I was before I even had the drink. And so I kept observing this. And so I was literally watching if what I want to do is to continue to raise my frequency, to continue to ascend, to continue to become more conscious, to continue to embody more of my higher self. If I wanted to continue to do what I wanted to do in the ways that I wanted to do it, I I had to make a choice. I realized I got to a point where it was either I continued drinking and stay at one level, or I choose to stop drinking and I can continue to grow in my evolution. Now, what I will say is that the last 4 years have been I've had really, really beautiful parts and really, really beautiful experiences. Spending the pandemic in Bali was absolutely a godsend and one of the most incredible divine blessings I believe I've ever gotten in my life. Now, what happened in Los Angeles to get me to go to Bali was probably one of the worst experiences of my life. And I've gone through some really challenging, fucked up situations, but that one really, really laid me out. And I cannot even imagine how much worse it would have been if I had been drinking. It, not drinking through challenges and choosing to stay clear and choosing to feel my feelings and choosing to feel my emotions has allowed me a different sense of openness and a different kind of conviction in this world that has helped me exponentially, like truly helped me exponentially. And when I was reflecting yesterday, and I was just kind of like, oh, I didn't really think anything of it because at this point, I don't really think anything of not drinking. I really don't. Like how often you hear me talk about it here? Not really ever until now. Um, It's just a lifestyle choice for me. I just have chosen that that's not what it's just not a part of my party life, it's not a part of my celebration life, it's not a part of my depressive life, it's not a part of, like, any of it. And so as I was reflecting yesterday, I realized that it's built a different sense of fortitude inside of myself to know what I am capable of overcoming and to know what I am capable of handling within myself. If I can go through the things that I have gone through, and if I listed them out, you would be amazed that I'm even here in this situation and in this seat continuing to show up. I'm telling you. And to know that I have the emotional strength and the emotional resolve to handle whatever it is that comes up, whatever it is that comes up, and that I'm not gonna destroy my life even further. Like, I already have an inner saboteur. I already have inner victim consciousness. I already have all these things from having years of abuse in my childhood and sexual assault in my early like, I already have enough of that for me to work through and grow through and continue to integrate into my wholeness. So then you add booze on top of it and the decisions that go with booze, especially when you're hitting the fuck it button and like, you know, you don't really care. And the lack of judgment and the like all of these things that go in with it and what happens when you're drinking. Or at least for me, what was happening when I was drinking, no good things were happening. You better believe I was not channeling angels. I was not in a space where I was doing beautiful things. Occasionally, I'd turn into the drunken psychic where I had no filter and I would just tell people what I saw about them, whether they wanted to hear it or not, which probably wasn't a good look either. I mean, I guess we can laugh about that one a little bit, but let me tell you, that's the quickest way to pick up some entities. And I did. And I had to clear them. And I also got in car accidents because of it. It is not chill. Like, we think it is so casual. We think it is so casual in this world and so socially acceptable to drink. But I would be willing to bet that more than 99.5% of people who drink do not know what they are doing to their spirit. They do not know what they are doing to their vibrational frequency. They do not know what they are doing to their consciousness, let alone it's a poison that you put into your body. It destroys your gut microbiome. It destroys your liver. It destroys your internal organs that are here to function. And every single one of your organs has a consciousness in and of itself. So if you are disconnected, or if you are poisoning, or if you are toxifying your internal organs, you're not able to operate in fullness. You're not able to operate in wholeness. When I was in Bali, I did quite a bit of cleansing, and one of my favorite cleanses is a gallbladder liver cleanse that flushes out your gallbladder, and you end up pooping out a bunch of these like little green balls, some of them little black balls. It's really quite gnarly. But when I was doing that, it was really interesting because as I was laying there and I could feel them all moving out of my gallbladder, because you can feel it happening, it was like I was going through a photo album. All these repressed memories from high school, from drinking in high school, was all coming out because that's how the information, that's how the emotions, that's how it all got stored. When I was in high school, I was not healing, I was not tapping, I was not meditating, I was not clearing. And so now me, future me, has to be able to clear that energy out of my body. So I have to clear that energy out of my body, and I have to do it in some way consciously, where me, mature, wise, clear me, and I'm not saying I don't have any problems. There's definitely still things that I am clearing and cleaning up. But what I will say is that if I was drinking, it would make the situation far worse and less manageable. So clearing out the system, bringing your entire physical body to an elevated state of consciousness, bringing your entire understanding of your relationship with yourself. Because I could tell you that if your value of self-love was high enough, you would not toxify yourself. You would not destroy your brain. You would not destroy your gut. You would not destroy your liver. You would not be careless about how you're experiencing this body and this world and this life that you have. But there is a very, very strong undercurrent of media programming that tells us how socially acceptable it is to be sick, to be unwell, to be mentally ill, mentally off balance. It's really strange. If we look around at our society is not promoting health, balance, wellness, interconnectivity, a very strong development of your relationship with yourself that encourages you to show up in this world, to show up in your family unit, to show up with your friends and family. And if you have a toxic family, I am terribly sorry to hear that. And then it might be a better idea for you to step away to receive your own healing and to give yourself the medicine that you need to get back on track. Because sometimes it can be the people around you There were times that I had to get away from my family, not because my family was causing problems in my life. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. I'm not here to point blame at all. But what I had to know is I had to know if the patterns that I was doing, the things that I was doing, the behavior choices that I was making, was it because I was in that environment? And would it still exist if I left that environment and was left to my own volition? And I had to get those answers to get clear about what were my patterns, what were learned patterns and behaviors, what were acceptable by other people. I had enough of an awareness within myself. And my family never once encouraged me to stop drinking. Mm-mm. In fact, they like it when I drink with them because I am super funny. When people ask me why I don't drink, I say because I was really good at it. And I was. There was a lot of really good times too. I'm not saying that there aren't good times. There is a way to socially bond with people through drinking because you let down the guards, but there is a way to let down the guards without drinking. And that's what we can learn to do. That's why cacao ceremonies are so beautiful. This is why I love ecstatic dance. This is why I love singing or tea ceremonies. There are so many other ways to connect with people. And here in the Western world, and especially in the city that I grew up in Reno, Nevada, there's not a whole lot of conscious connection. People learn to connect through unconscious behavior. And so you feel socially dried out or you feel socially unfulfilled if you've made the choice to heal yourself and step away from it. Because there's shame in saying that you have a problem. There's shame in saying that but it's not even that you have a problem. It's that if you want to make better, healthier choices for yourself, you can do that. And in the times that I did that for myself, I had so many people try to tear me down for it. So many people tried to tear me down for my own sobriety because they would say that I was on a high horse and that I was all of a sudden thinking I was better than them for it. I was healing some of the deepest wounds that these people didn't even know existed inside of me, but were the reason I was drinking. But because I chose to start healing, it held up a mirror for them for where they were not showing up for themselves, where they were not interested in taking care of their health, where they were not interested in healing their wounds, where they were not interested in taking care of themselves. And because I started making the choice to take care of myself and just happened to continue to live in that environment, it held up a mirror for people, and some people were really inspired by it, and some people, like I said, tried to tear me down for it. Again, it strengthened my resolve to realize that when I was drinking, I was abandoning myself. I was abandoning my inner being. I was abandoning my purpose. I was not focused on my purpose when I was drinking. I was not focused on creating a global international movement in the way that I want to. I was not able to put these pieces together of these things that were so deeply connected to the way that I wanted to show up in the world when I was drinking. It's they're not simpatico frequencies. They do not go together for me. They really don't. And ultimately, also for me, it it's too dangerous. It's too dangerous. And I mean that by means of the spiritual implications of what happens. That because of the light that I have fortified in my body, because of the connection that I have here, probably stuff that I was even born with that I fully don't even comprehend yet. But I know that there is a part of me that is a very, very, very strong light. And I know that if I'm drinking and if I'm in and out of my body and I'm not staying present, the entities that plug into my field because I have lowered my frequency in such a way that it actually gives them access. And this for me happened too many times. The amount of parasitic entities I have had to release out of my own field. That's another thing. There's like this entity shame. If you have an entity, look, they're fucking everywhere. They're everywhere. If you've never done a parasite cleanse through your gut, highly recommend doing one. You'll release some entities. Entities plug into us in so many ways. This world is bombarded by them, and it is a conversation that most people are not willing to have, and also most people will look at me and say that I'm crazy because I can see them. No, I'm not crazy, I'm a medium. I can see the fifth dimension. I can see beyond this material world. And what I can see and what I have personally experienced by means of my own exorcisms, by means of my own releasing entities, by means of releasing my own traumas, by means of all of these things that I've shared, even in this week, about how entities plug into people. For me, it is too much of a dangerous game. It is too much of a dangerous gamble. It is not a risk I'm willing to take. It's not a dance I'm willing to do anymore. And that even comes into being in bars. There's sometimes I go into a bar and I am slimed. Like I have to clear my energy field extra the next day. So in some ways it's like, do I even want to put myself in that situation to have the social interactions that may or may not be good there anyway? It's really, to be honest, it's really been a dance, and it was God, it was so much easier in Bali because there's so many other people there that don't drink because they get it. They have experienced similar things that I've experienced, and they know what it does, and drinking does not bring out your best self. Never once have I seen somebody drunk and been like, "They're shining right now." Like, never once. They may be like have, more of an excited or exaggerated presence because they wanna sing karaoke or they're out of their shell or whatever, but never once have I seen somebody drunk and been like, "Wow." Yeah, it just doesn't happen. It's more like, I'm gonna go the other way. Do you mind?" Like, you stay over there. Even some of my really, really good friends, hanging out with them drinking, I'm like, "God, you're annoying." I know. Sometimes it just is what it is. Sometimes we're all just human, and sometimes I just don't wanna put myself in that environment, in that place. And still not drinking in a world where drinking is so socially acceptable, it's not a walk in the park. It is not that easy. And when I try to explain to people why I don't wanna be around them when they're drinking or when they're, like, not in their body or when they're super unconscious or when they're unconsciously channeling other entities and I'm watching it happen, I'm like, "I don't wanna participate. I don't want to be there. I don't even want to, like, see what happens. I know how the night ends. I know how the story ends. The jokes aren't funny." It's like, it just isn't. It just isn't. So for me, what is exciting is deep, authentic, conscious human connection. I had this beautiful experience at a cacao ceremony recently, and we were doing eye gazing. And this guy that I got paired with, he was so funny. He sits down, he's like, "I love eye gazing." I'm like, "Great, let's do this." Me too. And we had to come up with a saying or a sentence that we wanted to hear. It was something that we needed to hear. And so mine was that I am safe in my body. I've had a lot of experiences in this world that have made me not feel safe in my body, primarily experiences with men. It sucks. And so I wanted to hear that from him. And he said it to me in such a way that I could tell that he knew how much that medicine meant to me and how much it meant to me to hear it from a man. And so when we exchanged, my sentence to him was, um, he wanted to hear from his father that his father was proud of him. And so similarly, I could intuitively feel how important that sentence was to say to him and the depth of healing that we were able to connect with in that moment. And I'm telling you, this man was a stranger to me. I had not known him 5 minutes before. But the depth and clarity and the depth and connectivity and the depth in how authentically we both wanted to see each other feeling better and healed and having had these treacherous life experiences that have similar wounding made us feel worthless in some way, shape, or form. There's a power that happens in being able to deeply connect with another human being, and it doesn't have to be deeply connecting with another human being through pain. But it can be through the illumination, the open-heartedness that leaves you feeling high and open and charismatic, and that you're looking at life through the lens of like beauty lenses where everything is beautiful and everything is interconnected, and you're like so happy to be there and so excited to be present in how you are experiencing life. It doesn't happen through alcohol. And there's other drugs that it doesn't happen through either. But as I said at the very beginning of this call, I absolutely am an advocate for psychedelics. I absolutely am an advocate for the responsible use of being able to use those as medicine to connect you to your spirit, because it opens internal bridges. It opens internal bridges to understanding more deeply who you are. And again, there's been so much media programming that has pushed this agenda of people staying unconscious. The fact that the DARE program to teach kids to stay off drugs promotes alcoholism, does not teach women about their own cycles, but yet encourages a different level of dissociation. It's backwards, and it seems to me that there's a bit more of an agenda here that people are really willing to admit. So the fact that psilocybin is now legal in Colorado, and I think in Washington or one other state, that ball is now rolling. Ketamine is being used um, in psychological clinical settings to be able to use that as a substance to open your field of awareness into a different set of possibility to also heal. Again, safe, set, and setting. That there is a safe and responsible way to be able to use substances, even LSD, that can open your field of awareness. If you study the beginning years of LSD, it makes sense as to why the government would want to shut it down even after the studies that they did. It opens your field in such a powerful way, that, yeah, if it's being used to escape, if it's being used as a party drug, if it's being used to, just get high, and especially if you're drinking with it, it will shut down the lessons and the guidance that you're able to get through it. Bufo or DMT combo is not psychedelic, but it is one that also heals in an extraordinary way. Ayahuasca, there's been so many profound healing stories through ayahuasca, and how powerful it is for people that go and go on these dietas and go to Peru or go to the Amazon and drink it with the elders that are there. And yeah, there's a lot of scary things that happened with these things too, but I'll tell you something. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. People are afraid to develop their psychic abilities because they don't want to see demons. Well, let me tell you, the benefit and the beauty of it is that you get to see angels too. It doesn't mean it isn't there. It's there all the time. It is there with us in this world, in all circumstances, in all moments. So if what it is that you are afraid of seeing is the reality and the nature of this world that we are living in, then I really ask you to take a few moments to really check in with yourself and see what it is that you're so afraid of. Because the deepest, darkest shadows of your own inner world, I can tell you, are the scariest things you will ever confront in your own life. It's why when I meet people, their shadows and their stuff and their pain, whatever, it doesn't scare me. I've spent countless times, countless hours in the resources of the basement of my own soul's existence, witnessing the past lives in which I was the villain and I hurt and harmed people. That's a part of ourselves that we don't really want to accept. But if we can look at these parts and reconcile them, then we will be able to free ourselves and cultivating a deeper level of self-trust, knowing that we're not going to create that hurt or harm. Because once you integrate it, you're less likely to hurt people. But we've all heard the sentence, hurt people hurt people. If you are hurting, chances of you hurting somebody else are also very high. Not intentionally, not going, I'm going to go hurt this person. Some people might, and those people do exist. But ultimately, it's the unconscious hurt, it's the unconscious pain that goes unintegrated and unresolved that spills over and hurts those around us. And if you're drinking on a consistent basis, even I've had some people, I had one client that was like, well, I only have like, a glass of wine a night. That's keeping you numb. It's keeping you dull. It's keeping you checked out. You're literally operating at a certain level of not handling your shit. You're just coasting through a numb space. Same with weed, same with any substance, same with caffeine. Any of these things that are dissociatives and numb, video games, pick your poison. Alcohol is just one that I think is really socially acceptable and really extreme in a lot of ways that go unchecked and unrivaled. So that's why I have chosen not to imbibe in it. And also, I don't really sit on a soapbox and tell other people what they should and shouldn't do with their choices to drink, even when I'm in a space of, a bunch of people around me drinking. If somebody asks me why I'm not drinking, I'll usually just kind of tell them, yeah, because I was really good at it. But if somebody asks me why I'm not drinking because I can tell that they themselves want to not drinking as they have a drink in their hand, then of course I'll go into it a little bit more, but it's not my battle. It's not the soapbox that I want to sit on. What I want to sit on is I want to encourage people to be their best self. So yes, celebrating my 4 years no booze anniversary, which is it's over 6 years sober in my life. And going through the dance myself of trying to justify and make excuses and tell myself that I'd healed my relationship with alcohol or I didn't want to miss the culture or all this FOMO and stuff. I've been through the rigmarole of the whole freaking thing. I've been to Al-Anon meetings. I've been to AA meetings. I've chosen not to go the AA route. I chose to actually go to Bikram yoga was when how I started. It became my detox, became my drug. But that forces you to stare in the mirror with yourself for 90 minutes while you're there, thinking that you're going to die because the room is so freaking hot. There's so much to it, to be honest. The reason I did this was because somebody actually asked me to talk a lot more about it after I shared in my Instagram stories yesterday. So that's why we're here. That's why we're having this chat. That's why I've just kind of gone all the way. I have 2 other videos that I have over 400 videos on YouTube, and I have 2 videos on drinking. It's been a major part of my life. It's been a major part of choices that I've made. It's been a major part of my healing, choosing not to drink. But like I said, it's not my soapbox. Would I prefer that the people if when I lead retreats, there's no drinking, absolutely none. And when I've done retreats that other people have led and they have not set a no drinking tone, you can tell the people that are drinking because they're not getting shit out of it. They're not getting anything out of it. They're going and they're having their whiskey at night and they're having their glass of wine or whatever, and it literally cuts the integration process. It literally numbs the healing that you receive. I've watched it happen too many times. It's like, what's the point? If you're going to be healing, if you're going to be doing what you're doing, if you're going to be opening to your greatest purpose and your potential and finding fulfillment in this life, I'm telling you, you're not going to find it at the bottom of a glass of wine. Sorry. You're just not. Try deeply connecting with yourself. Try having the hard conversations that people don't want to have. See how that deepens your connections, deepens your authenticity, deepens your own integrity, shows you where you're willing to show up for yourself, and shows you where you are actually self-abandoning. And just stop self-abandoning. Choose self-connection at every single choice point. If you ask yourself, is this choice deepening my connection with myself or is it not? And start to see how your life changes when you stop dissociating and you really start loving those deeper parts of yourself on a much, 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 much deeper level. I have never been filled with more self-love ever in my life than I am now, because I know the conviction that I have to work through problems. I know the emotional resolve that I have and the emotional skills that I have to be able to overcome whatever is thrown at me. Because life circumstances, when you really, break them down to what it is that goes on, has everything to do with your relationship with yourself. It has nothing to do with the external world. Has everything to do with your relationship with yourself. If your relationship with yourself is not rock solid, the challenges that life throws your way, one, will continue to repeat. If you want a pattern to stop, you have to stop the pattern inside of yourself that is accepting that pattern. You have to parent yourself. You have to parent your inner child. You have to parent these inner things. And again, it's not going to happen when you're drinking. So when you clear your field and when you clear the awareness of who it is that you want to be in this world and how you want to show up and how you want to experience your own life, and you really actually take a good hard look at the role that alcohol has and the role that alcohol is playing in your life, chances are, if you took alcohol out, some patterns that you've been tolerating that you're probably fed up with, but numbing on a certain level that makes it more tolerable, which basically means you're just accepting the shitty pattern. So give yourself the freedom to be the person that you want to be for yourself. It literally has nothing to do with anybody else. It has everything to do with your relationship with you. That's it. You want a better connection with yourself? Get clear. Get sober. Sober. Clear and sober. And you'd be amazed at what opens up in your heart when you start to see yourself more clearly and when you face those deep, dark shadows that you have not been willing to face. Because no matter how deep and dark and scary they are lovable. They are so lovable. So, 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 so deeply lovable. And if there's anything you are deserving of in this world, it is your 100%, 100% self-acceptance and self-love. This doesn't mean accepting and tolerating behaviors that you know are not good for you. So with that, my sweet loves, I absolutely adore you. Thank you for hanging out with me for as long as we have hung out today. I think this is the longest one of these little monad family meetings that I have done. I also wanted to share, I have decided I've got a really, really, like I said, I have the two other videos. You can find it, Drunk Spirituality and then Alcohol and Spiritual Growth. They're both on this channel. You can find them. I've decided to open one-to-one readings for the month of December. I haven't done this in a really, really long time. I usually only work with people for a minimum of 6 months at a time because I like to be there for the transformation, the whole change, the life shift that happens through very present, deep self-work. So with that, yes, one-to-one sessions are open. You can find it on my Instagram stories right now. There's a booking link there. If you're on my email list, you would have gotten an email yesterday inviting you to that. If you are interested and you want to do an individual session, like I said, I'm actually I'm limiting it to 10 and only through the month of December. So if that's something that interests you, reach out to me on Instagram. Just send me a private message. I will let you know. I'll get you the booking link and then we can get started from there. So I look forward to connecting with you in the reading space. If you're really ready to dive in to unpack some of your baggage and get really clear and steady on how you're going to start off January of 2023, then I'm more than happy to help. I'm more than happy to connect with you, and I would absolutely love and adore the opportunity to connect with you in the reading space. Even just one reading can be wildly pivotal, wildly transformative. And so I'm really excited to see what comes up and through this space in December. All right. So, with that, my sweet friends, I love you. I adore you. As we go forth, may we integrate the healing and the lessons received with courage, self love, and compassion. Our session here is very much complete. Mwah. Ciao, ciao.